Welcome to the LLN newsletter interview series. I have the distinct honor of being here with one of our teachers and internal team members, Julissa Estrada. How's it going today, Julissa?
Very good, Adam. Thank you. How are
Yeah,
you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I remember I first had the chance to meet you a little over a year ago at Rutherford Coffee Shop
Yes.
when you were going to take over a teaching assignment for Sean. And I can't tell you, I'm sure the same for you, how many hours I've logged working at that coffee shop with Sean.
Yes.
Blocks
That's
from
like
the headquarters.
everyone's spot.
Yeah, they know us all by name there by now. Being a teacher now for LLN for quite some time, Julissa, what made you decide to want to become a teacher in the first place?
To be honest with you, it was my son. He was diagnosed with autism when he was about to turn 4 years old. So right at the cusp where a student would go into pre-K. And I didn't really know about autism or how broad it is. And I wanted to learn more. And in the midst of learning more, I started learning more about education and I decided to change my career path. And that's how I got into education.
Gotcha. Was he enrolled in a school at the time that you found out he had autism?
No, he was not. So the very first thing I noticed was speech delay, which is like one of the most typical signs. And at the age of 4, he was still not speaking. So, for him to get tested, it took about 9 months for him to even be seen. So it was over a year for him to get any services or anything like that.
So
Yeah.
I guess it's safe to say you didn't study education originally in
No, no. So right after I graduated high school, I did want to go into teaching, but I was working in retail and I liked what I did, and so I said, "Oh, let me change my major," and I did.
What had been your major prior?
Business. I like working with people, and serving others. So it seemed okay for me to change my major. Well, this is what I'm doing. Let me move up in my company, and I did, but then it became unbearable.
Yeah, we have a lot of former business people now working for
Yeah.
LLN. Was there any Spanish language coursework in there too, or just the business stuff and the education stuff?
No, just business because so for college you do have to take, if you don't want to take language courses, you can take a test to give, so that you can take those credits and you don't have to take the class. And since I already spoke Spanish, I was a fluent speaker, and I got my credits.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, I didn't take any language.
Yeah, there's no need to force you to pay for additional classes when you're already bilingual.
No, absolutely not.
When I came, I tried to get out of that in college too, because I grew up in Japan until I was 9 and I could speak Japanese, but
Yeah.
because I couldn't read it and write it, they wouldn't count it. But it worked out just fine. Do you speak any languages besides English and Spanish?
No.
Most of us are not on Sean's level with
No.
the Italian and the
Even
French.
you understand a lot.
Sean's got me beat by one or two.
He remembers so much and he does the accent so well.
He
Like
does.
there, like you were born and raised there,
For a lot of them, he never even did the coursework. He said he'd be in high school, and while everyone else was either at lunch or at recess, he would go to his foreign language teacher's classrooms, just open up and read the textbooks, and immediately remember all the grammatical rules and all the
Oh my
vocabulary stuff they read.
gosh.
That's why he doesn't forget anything for LLN ever.
Probably, yeah. Anytime I mention something about our lessons, he's like, "Oh yeah," and in my head, I'm like, "How do you know? Like, you're not just, in my area. You're, wearing so many hats. How do you remember?"
Julissa, you're teaching for us at the Montclair Co-op School right now, which hopefully most LLN employees realize was Sean's first school. That's his first contract ever. He's been there forever. That was his baby. So for him to give that over to you, like the program he built from scratch, he must have really loved everything about you and what you did, especially teaching the little ones. Are you living in Montclair right now? Is that super easy for you? Is that close?
It is close by. I live in East Rutherford, so it's like a 15-minute drive. 20 if there's traffic, it's right there. And the school, I love it. I had been working in public school, so it's like a completely different world working at the co-op. Everyone's so nice and pleasant, and I guess working in public schools, everyone's just angry. And I
I
don't
was there for
that.
a long time. I noticed the same thing. And with some of the partner schools we have, we've noticed it too. But
The atmosphere is just different.
the atmosphere and the vibe is very different.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you were in East Rutherford. You're going to be spitting distance from the office when it opens up. Somehow I got in
Yeah.
my head that you were in Newark
Yeah.
or Bloomfield or Elizabeth or somewhere.
No, I think Rocio is from Newark. I think Elizabeth is in Wayne.
So, Julissa, obviously we can't, even though we're teachers and the students think that that's all we ever do is teach, and it's never turned off. And some cases we can't because we bring our work home. Obviously, we all have lives and personalities outside of the classroom. To that end, when you're not teaching, are you watching anything on Netflix right now or on any other streaming platforms?
I love documentary series. I like the murder shows. I don't know if that's appropriate.
No, that's
but
perfectly fine.
but I
All
do.
of my students and every woman I know, they love the serial killer documentaries.
I mean, it's crazy because then at night I'm scared to come to my kitchen.
Right. I don't understand why you would watch that
Yeah, it makes no sense. It's like
late at night, especially if you live by yourself.
yeah, well, no, I don't, but I know, at like 2 a.m, I'll come to get water, and everyone's asleep, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's so quiet and dark, and
But are you watching anything specific right now that you're working through? Any of the series?
no, nothing specific. My son, he got into Squid Games a little, although I think that came out last year. He just started watching, or he watched it already. That was, I don't like gruesome things, but I did watch it, and he's like repeating it. So
That'll also make you scared to look over your shoulder. Squid Games.
yeah, absolutely.
Do you cook a bunch at home?
I do. Yes. I love to cook actually. But so I have picky eaters at home. So I can't always cook what I like. Sometimes I do. Like I like a lot of things with sauces. So I'll make them sometimes. Like I'll make pollo guisado. Have you ever heard that? Chicken stew.
Remember, I'm the one guy in the whole company that doesn't speak Spanish, so you got to help me here.
I'll make chicken stew, beef stew. I love things with sauces, but I hardly ever make it because I'm the only one that will eat it. So yeah, if I have family over, then my family will eat it, but my kids won't eat anything with sauce. So
favorite foods then?
Probably stews.
Yeah.
Stews are my favorite, but I will say I love Caribbean cuisine. Absolutely love Caribbean cuisine. There's so much flavor. And so I'm Central American. And, we're used to the tortillas and beans, So I remember when I came to this country and it's like, oh my gosh, what is this? It's so good, I love Caribbean cuisine.
Thankfully, we live in a part of the country in North Jersey where there's a lot of Caribbean restaurants we can go to.
Yes,
We're very fortunate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Union City, woo! Are you currently reading anything, Julissa? Once your kids go to sleep, I'm sure, and you actually have time to yourself to read.
I read to my son, and we just finished a book called Out of My Mind. Again, he has trouble with language, so I try to read to him as often as we get a chance to. And so Out of My Mind is about a disabled girl, and sometimes we look at someone who maybe doesn't speak or cannot do things for themselves and think that they don't have anything to say or any thoughts of their own. So that's basically what this book is about. I try to read that kind of those kind of topics to him just because he just learned that he's on the spectrum, and I want him to I don't want him to be ashamed of who he is.
Definitely
but
not.
I also want him to be inclusive to others and understand that we're all different. And that's something about you, but it's not who you are.
But outside of the reading to our son, there's no
no
mom.
no to decompress maybe. I'll honestly I don't even know. I'll turn on the TV and I'll fall asleep. I know I have a book on my night.
That's such a teacher thing.
Yeah,
my goodness, is that a teacher thing to fall asleep watching TV?
Yeah, I have 2 books on my nightstand, and I don't get to. Sometimes I turn on my lamp and I'll say I'm gonna read. The book sits on my chest and I go to sleep.
It's a coaster.
Yeah.
I'm even worse. I have 2 books by my nightstand, but one of them is my Kindle, and then one of them is an actual paper and ink book.
Yeah.
Neither one of them are getting read right now.
Yeah. That's just, you hit the bed and you're done.
And I would say things to myself like, oh, if I just read 20 pages or 15 pages, it'll help me have deeper sleep. I don't even get to the pages. So outside of reading to our son and cooking and falling asleep watching TV, do you have anything else you do to decompress? Any hobbies outside of classroom?
So I recently started jujitsu.
Me too.
Get out, really?
I swear. Yeah.
Oh, you Oh, you've been doing it for a while, or you just started?
Just 3 months for now, since I started in December.
Oh, I just started last month.
It's
Yeah,
awesome, isn't it?
I love it. I
It's
mean,
so intellectual. It's
yeah, the first week though, oh my gosh, I had such a hard time sitting on the carpet and getting up. I was so sore.
I know.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I love it. My daughter's been in jujitsu for 8, 9 years now. And she's taller than me now. So she was always
Of
telling me,
course.
come and join. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, so I did. And so that's the other thing I have on the side.
Gotcha. Do you have
Yeah.
would you get all the little I don't get them anymore now that my fingers are all calloused, but would you get from grabbing the other person's shirt, would you get all the
Taller,
little rips
yeah.
and tears, the
Yeah,
rips and tears in your finger?
my nails have suffered because sometimes the grip and maybe I don't have them as short as I should. And so they bend back. Oh my gosh, and it's so painful.
Sure. Are you gonna try to compete eventually one day?
I would like to. I want to get
All right.
maybe at least you too.
I want to, yeah, so badly.
Let me know. I want to maybe have at least a year practicing and then I would like to compete. But if you do, let me know. I'll go.
Thank you. So one thing I have to do before I go to jujitsu is listen to music in order to sort of like psych
Pump you
myself
up.
up. Like
Yeah.
I'm going in there to go to war music. Is there a special kind of music that you always listen to before jujitsu or non-jujitsu, either or?
My playlist is crazy. I like pop, I like R&B, I like ballads. I sometimes it's Spanish music, it's like rolling a die and I don't know. Yeah. I'd have to say because of my kids, probably pop because that's what they listen to. So that's always in the radio in my car.
So a lot of Taylor Swift, Harry Styles, Ariana
Yeah,
Grande.
yeah.
I'll admit that I got some of their songs on my playlist.
Oh, you do.
I'm not gonna lie to anybody here. The world can know. Are there any genres of music that are completely off the table under no circumstances?
Probably, and this is only if I have a migraine, probably heavy metal.
Like
Just because it's like, yeah, other than that, no. Like a lot of people say that they don't like country. No, I can do sometimes, not all the time, but yeah.
Country music, that's good summer music. That's good outdoor in the summer hanging out music, I think.
Yeah, you're out sitting on the grass by the pool. Yeah.
So I'm really surprised. A lot of people, whenever I ask them to list 3 hobbies, immediately traveling is the first thing that comes up. And it's very, very hard to be a foreign language teacher like ourselves and to have not have done a ton of traveling.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite country that you've traveled to?
No, but I do want to go to Greece. I would love to go to Greece. Yeah, I think it's like I see pictures. I think it's such a beautiful country. And I've learned about the culture a little bit. I love it. I would love to go.
Every single year, I feel on social media, there's like the one country or the one place where I see everybody going and it's trendy. And I feel like in 2019, it was Greece. Everybody
really?
had that. Everybody had that same picture with all those blue roofs, and those domes in the background, and then the beach. Was that Mykonos? Is that where everybody was going?
Yeah. It's so beautiful. To be honest with you, what calls me are their beaches.
Oh, of course.
Oh my gosh.
Much bluer water than New Jersey.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Ours is not even, they're like grayish brown.
That sounds about right.
That's one country I'd love to go to.
Yeah. So, Julissa, if we steer this conversation back to the classroom, I know for myself, what my favorite thing to do with my students is whenever they all write an essay, and once we've done all the correction and this all turned in and graded, I then like to read the essays out loud, just as long as they're not too personal. Sometimes I got to put a couple aside, but I like to read them out loud in the target language and then have the other students guess whose it is. I don't know why. I'm just straight. That's always been my favorite thing to do with the kids. Do you have a favorite? Like, this is always the activity I look forward to the most with my students when I teach Spanish.
Recently, my favorite thing is always the movement because I always integrate whatever topic we're covering. So actually for next week, they don't know this yet, but so I bought a carpet.
Won't tell them.
I bought a carpet to play hopscotch, and we're covering days of the week
with the numbers and the squares and everything already written in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I bought the carpet just because, and I wish I would have done this earlier because it's just I'm gonna put them into 2 groups just so that we have more time. The groups are doing different things. They're not wasting their time just waiting for their turn. So I'm gonna have one group doing the fishing game, but every time have you ever played the fishing game?
I know the game you're talking about.
Yeah. So every time they catch a fish, they have to count. I don't know. I'm gonna start them easy and maybe start counting in tens. Then we're gonna count in fives. Then maybe we'll count in twos. I don't know, just to like practice our numbers. But those that are gonna be playing hopscotch, since we're covering days of the week, we're going to say the day every time. So doing a movement and repeating what we are practicing in lessons, so lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves, as they're playing the hopscotch.
That's why Sean wanted you for Montclair, because that's his thing. All the hokey pokey.
Oh, yeah.
Head, shoulders, knees, and toes in Spanish. That is Sean's. That's got him written all over it.
Yes. That's my favorite thing to do, because they don't know they're learning, but I know they're learning, and
of course.
Incorporate a game instead of just sitting and writing. And I mean, that's writing it's important. It's vital. And then presenting what they wrote, also important. But if they're moving, I find it that's when they are the most engaged. So I love our movements.
Julissa, would you say that you have any role models in foreign language education since you became a teacher?
Not foreign language, but I have read a lot of Temple Grandin's books.
Okay.
She is an advocate for autism. And I found that a lot of her strategies I've brought into my classroom, not just for those on the spectrum, but just for students in general, especially those that struggle. Like I've had a few students that they don't want to learn Spanish. At the very beginning of the year, no, I don't speak Spanish. I don't like it, and now they love my class. That means the world to me, and again, it's integrating some of her ideas, of just being inclusive, So
well, I really hope she listens to this podcast one day and hears you say this.
It's just, you do. I actually have two students in that one particular class that they did not want to take my class at the beginning of the year. One of them didn't even want to share their name. And now gym and Spanish are their favorite classes because they get to move. And, it goes back to like playing the hopscotch, we're moving, but we're saying what we're learning,
of course,
So, but yeah, she's one that I've taken a lot from.
Awesome. Julissa, do you think you'd have an idea of what you might be doing right now if you weren't teaching?
Probably retail.
What retail establishment were you working in?
What made me think about that? Well, so I was a manager at CVS Pharmacy.
Okay.
And it was.
Why are the receipts so long? Really, you could shimmy down a building with one of those receipts. It's crazy.
I hated that. And I remember sometimes we would run out of paper because these receipts,
of course you would,
were like gift wrap, like
one receipt's an entire roll.
Yeah.
I do have the app though, and I stack the coupons all the time. I use it. Someone taught me how to do that once.
Saving on paper, huh?
All right, we're almost at the end here. Can you believe how quickly this has gone by? Julissa, you ready for the fast questions?
Sure.
Outstanding. Okay, here we go. Julissa, how long have you been with LLN?
Oh, a year now in March.
A year in March? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
My anniversary is also March. It's crazy.
Yeah.
For everybody who's listening at LLN and elsewhere, of course, what is your current role at LLN?
Oh, I'm a Spanish teacher, and I am also in the sales development team.
How did you meet Sean and come to work for LLN?
Trying to get out of education.
Right.
Ironically.
But I mean, did Sean find you on Indeed? Did you guys bump each other in a coffee shop? Like, what happened?
Yes. So I submitted my resume on Indeed. Again, trying to get out of education because I was just done with public schools. And he reached out to me. And at first I was skeptical because it's like, oh my gosh, but I really didn't want to go back to retail. So I said, and then I was actually very skeptical about meeting at a coffee shop because I've never met anyone in education at a coffee shop. So I was just like, but we spoke on the phone. And then when he said, oh, you get to meet the rest of my team. And I remember you were there. I felt a little
Oh,
better.
that was that time?
Yeah.
Oh, great. I didn't realize that was the first
Yeah.
time. I thought
Yeah.
Sean had met you at least once or twice before prior.
Maybe we did, I think, Zoom. And we spoke on the phone prior, but that was the very first time that I met him in person. So
I
yeah.
worked for Sean for a year and a half before I ever met him in person. We only ever spoke on the phone or on Skype for a year and a half.
So he's yeah, yeah. I mean, I know that we have been out for over 10 years now, right?
Yes.
But it's crazy to me that now this is the way of the world, Zoom.
And speaking of Sean and tech like Skype and Zoom, I feel like I know Google Suite and the functions and Google Sheets and Google Classroom and Google Slide and all this like the back of my hand, thanks to Sean. I remember I was even working at a school once and they gave us maybe 5 trainings, 5 weeks in a row on Google Suite, and I learned nothing. And then Sean just waves his hand, and then I just know how to use all the
Yeah.
functions. Would you say that there's a thing that like the number one thing you've learned from either from Sean or working for LLN in the past year?
Um, yeah, probably, yeah, getting around with Google in general. Like there are so many functions that I had no idea that I could do with emails alone, and it was like, wow, like instead of spending like the templates is like one of them, how we keep, yeah, and you have, just certain replies that you can save and you don't have to think about what you want to write because you already have it. And, so that's just one of them. But also with Google Slides, just a lot of tips and tricks that he's taught us around,
Yes.
along the way. I
We're
just bring it
same
to the
boat then.
classroom.
And since the majority of the people listening to this are going to be LLN teachers, is there just anything that you'd like for the rest of the LLN staff and the LLN teachers specifically to know about you?
Maybe although I got into education because of my son, now I love being in the classroom. And I really I can't imagine doing something else. I love it. I love being in the classroom. I love being in the carpet with them. I love playing games with them. We do a lot of times we do our memory game, but it's like it's getting boring because that's all we do now. But they love it, but I love the fact that they just, well, what's next? What are we doing next? I love it. I love it. I love education. I don't know. I don't see myself teaching, and I don't know, and I praise middle school and high school teachers because, oh my gosh, I feel like they are a nightmare.
For me, that's easier. I can't. I
What?
once subbed for the little kids, and I was run into the ground by the little kids. They dominated me. I was worthless. So everybody's got their skill set.
Oh my gosh. No, see, to me, it's like the opposite because, my daughter, she's in high school and she always tells me how disrespectful they are, how, the things they say to the teachers and, the fact that you can't fail them. There's no consequence, and that's probably one of the worst things I think in education because then, they are in middle school not knowing and they still make it to high school not knowing, then, in college, it's
What's gonna happen then? Yeah.
they're not gonna be able to pull their weight unless they learn.
I
Yeah,
feel bad for them too because then they're gonna go to college and go tens of thousands of dollars in debt. Might not even be able to finish.
absolutely. And that's why it's like probably our biggest downfall, as maybe a country. I don't know what's happening, but it's just, I don't know if they don't know. And, that's one of my favorite things about our program is that we can go at their own pace. I remember last year, I called Sean. I had just started. I think I had maybe 2 or 3 weeks teaching. And I called him and I said, oh my gosh, listen, I don't think I did a good job with this lesson. I don't think they understood. And from working in public schools, you move on, whether they caught it or not, you move on.
Coverage over comprehension. Yeah.
So, and he was like, oh my gosh, no, and he told me game that I can play with them. And they did it so fast. And they were like, oh yeah, we understood. But the fact that I was able, or I have the ability to pause and okay, we're going to go over it again. And that's what we need. That's what we need in the classrooms. But
Absolutely.
we're not afforded that. Teachers are not afforded that. So
Thankfully, we are here at LLN.
I know. Love it.